So in my confrontations of my pain, and in my descents into the somatic intelligence and communications of my body, I am facing the appearance of an obstacle, which is both intellectually and soulfully perceived as well as somatically felt. And this obstacle seems to be my mind's tendency to intellectualize, to phoneticize into words, to storytell, to understand, to analyze, to rationalize. And in everyday reality, such as today walking on this beach and just exercising in simple being, it's like I witness my mind just going on and on and on and on and on. Just like whatever I'm doing, my mind will just be like, oh, now I'm doing this. I'm walking on the beach. I am walking on the beach right now. How nice it is to be walking on the beach right now. I wonder what that food tasted like earlier. I wonder what that little part of a conversation that I had, like, what did I do something there? That, like, just my mind going off. Onward into these spirals and spirals and spirals. And I find myself exercising and breathing into my body to simply feel the presence of my body, the full somatic presence, and certain physical imbalances and subtle pains that I have, aches in my body, and to just like breathe and be with them. And there is a somatic feeling of constriction back here in the back of my neck, as if like my mind goes down into my spine, into my body. And there's like this point where mind is kind of like stuck and caught up. And stubbornly being like, I'm going to stay up here and I'm just going to babble on and rabble on, babble on. I'm just going to babble on. That came through accidentally, but that's what it's doing. And I'm just going to do my thing up here. I'm going to have my own little party and I'm going to stay disconnected from the rest of the body and from the harmonization with the body and from the pain that is here in the body. But the irony is there seems to be a fundamental connection between my mind and my intellect's desire to stay up here and the feeling of imbalance which I feel within my body. Breath and prayer are deeply, deeply, deeply helpful with this. Especially also there are moments like this one right now when the fluidity of my words and the ease with which they flow and harmonize with the discourse which I truly intentionally wish to weave with the dance of my words, with the exploration which they contain. These moments seem to come from moments of prayer and breath, which then nourish and cultivate and create a symbiotic, harmonious feedback loop between my mind, my brain, and my spinal nervous system, which connects to the rest of my body. The act of prayer and of harmonizing prayer with breath, with the linguistic swords which I pour out phonetically, with the words. My prayer today was a intentionally woven exploration of this somatic pain. It was like, all right, I feel this imbalance. I feel this disharmony. Let us call in harmonization. Let us call in presence. Let us call in God and Goddess to guide a rebalancing of whatever is out of balance, of whatever is out of connection, out of harmony. So that here, one thing that is coming through is that if you are someone who has a tendency to over-intellectualize things, who has a very powerful mind and a very powerful intellect and a very strong ability to rationalize things, but often you might feel disconnected from your emotions and from your heart and from the presence of your full embodied being. You might, and you probably do, have the power to intentionally use your words, to intentionally redirect the scripts of your looping mind, to intentionally and willfully use the power of your intellect and of your mind to then script and speak and pray and breathe with the creative breath of life, harmony, harmonization between all parts of your being. We can use language as a spell-casting, wave of a wand tool to weave the magic of realignment and divine resurrection into being. Now, ideally, this is not merely a mental process. Ideally, this does not come solely from the mind, nor for the mind. Ideally, you weave the intention with your words and breaths to bring an absolute harmonization with the full multi-dimensional spectrum of your body and of your being. I think of an Andrei Tarkovsky poem where he talks about things that are rigid and things that are soft. And masculinity is rigid and femininity is soft. And the mind is rigid and the intellect is rigid, and the body and the heart, they're soft and they're fluid. Whereas the mind is this rigid container creating and curating system to invite the fluidity to flow. And the part of the poem that I'm recalling is talking about how if something in nature is rigid, it is likely dead. Rigidity is not strength. Softness is strength, for softness is alive. When a tree is too rigid, it means it is dead. You can break its branches. But if it has that soft fluidity flowing through it, you can bend its branches and it will not crack because it is still alive. Wow. I hope you saw that. There was lightning. Oh. So that I am here working through somatically the perceived and apparent obstacles of my own rigidity, preventing my fluidity from flowing harmoniously between my body and my mind, between my body and my soul, between the full and fully embodied experience of my conscious being. Now, I said earlier that this obstacle is an appearance, which is to say that I do not cling to it as an obstacle necessarily. On one hand, if it is an appearance, it is temporary. And on some level, it is illusory. When we compare appearance to the reality and the truth that is beneath it metaphysically. The other element is that perhaps it is not an obstacle at all. Perhaps it is merely a communication from my body, asking to be felt, asking to be witnessed, asking to be held, asking to be communed and communicated with. So that this part of me, which let us maybe call it a pain, it can then be understood, felt, held, and integrated. So that then the appearance and the reality and the truth of harmony and homeostasis and balance and alignment can once more take hold in a way that is felt in the body and in the particular place in the body where it is communicating. I have long demonized this tension that I feel back here. This is a point where fear comes from. I believe, I'm not entirely sure, but I believe that fear comes from this place of my brain. So in some sense, it seems like there's still some fear that is wishing to come to the surface. And so this process here of me sharing is simply to reveal to you my process of stepping away from the hyper-intellectualization of my being into a somatic awareness, which then will guide me into the healing of the pains and the imbalances which I am dealing with, navigating, feeling my way through in my body. And like I have said in another video, it's all a process. Healing is not instantaneous, it is slow, it is practiced, it is cultivated. And so here, this is the process today. And tomorrow, there might be differences or improvements upon it. And the next day, even more. And all it takes is a commitment to showing up to feeling, to praying for guidance, and to not let the mind use and intellectualize and dictate and create imprisoning perceptions of control, which are rigid. But to use the mind as part of the medicine, as a guide to create the containers for the medicine and the femininity and the softening to flow. So that's the process for me currently right now. And yeah, hopefully it was helpful for somebody. It certainly was helpful for me to put it into words because now I understand it. And I can follow this advice as well. Because I am seeking sovereignty. I'm tired of this over-intellectualization and the illusory prisons which it casts and creates. So I'm finding my way back into the innate freedom and sovereignty of my body. And I'm documenting it. So, I hope it's helpful. I hope you are thriving. I hope you're abundant and radiant. I know you are somewhere. So, I'm going to leave it at that because it's getting dark. Blessings and much love to you. Goodbye. Pew.